Well, I want to give a little bit of a background for how I came to work for Freedom Daily. I didn't even know that Brian Kolfage, sorry, sorry, Richard, does not know that Brian was the owner or operating as the owner of Freedom Daily until I was actually hired on. Jeffrey Rainforth actually approached me and they wanted me to do videos for their Freedom Daily page. They wanted me to do a news show every day. And I was actually really excited when I learned that Brian was going to be my boss, because I was like, wow, this guy's an upstanding guy. He's a military veteran. He's a war hero and all this stuff. I thought for sure he would share the same integrity and morals that I did. And, as a former military officer, as a captain, I was a company commander for 3 years. And integrity is very important to me, and who I associate myself with is very important to me. And so, right off the bat, I saw just how this was going to go down, because my very first email from Brian, he was calling Muslims Dune coons, which I thought was very unprofessional in my very first orientation email that he sent to me. And he also told me never ever tell anybody who owns Freedom Daily. And I'm going to quote exactly what he said because I have screen caps here. He said, never tell anyone who operates Freedom Daily. It's a tightly guarded secret, and our LLC has a privacy veil set up to protect it. It allows us to operate without consequence, where we can't be sued or attacked by trolls, as we've both been before. I ended up suing a group of trolls who attacked me and was awarded $15,000 in damages, and the others had to sign statements saying they would never use my name in a negative light ever. So, yeah, that was in his first email to me. So I knew right off the bat that Brian was the owner of Freedom Daily. And so I ended up, and when I first started working there, I mean, I think they were trying to be a legit website, but I think Brian quickly learned that the more crazy the news and the more inflammatory the headlines, the more money he was going to make. I had access to Brian's Google Analytics, and I estimate that he made close to $300,000 during his biggest month. I knew what his CPM rate was because we both had the same ads on our websites. So I started getting really frustrated because I actually wound up on Snopes 7 different times because I had absolutely no control over how my stuff was titled. And I would always be very truthful in my article. If I ever made a mistake, I would always come back and say, hey, I got this little detail wrong or whatever. But my stories would rarely match the headline. So there was one story in particular was Trump raids Islamberg after a decade and uncovers America's worst nightmare. Well, it didn't even have anything to do with Trump. And the raid wasn't even in Islamberg. It was 40 miles away. So that's just to give you an example. And so the fake news at the end really, really got crazy. I mean, we had Photoshop images going up, making it look like Hillary Clinton had just been arrested by the FBI. There was a Photoshopped image of FBI agents actually having Hillary Clinton in handcuffs. There was one, a Photoshopped head was on Obama's naked body, making it sound like he was just busted in some salacious sex scandal. There was a Chuck Schumer one where they put Chuck Schumer on a body with man boobs and a gay pride lanyard around his neck. And it was just really crazy. And so the final straw was January 2018. Brian actually gave me the ultimatum. He said if I didn't step up my game with the featured images, that he was going to let me go. And the very next day, I put in my resignation, and I told him, I tried to walk away peacefully. I didn't tell him, hey, I'm leaving your website because it's a fake news factory and I'm tired of being on Snopes. I actually said, thank you for the opportunity. I actually have my resignation letter right here. I can read you if you like, because Brian is going around telling everybody that I'm a disgruntled employee who got fired, and nothing could be further from the truth. I actually walked away. And so I told him, hey, my only terms for leaving is please do not run any of my content when I leave. And he said, absolutely no problem. And he responded in a text and he said, I will not run any more of your content from this day forward. And so it seemed like it was going to be peaceful and everything. Well, I had a conservative website of my own, and one of Brian's writers approached me and said, hey, could I get some slots writing over on your website, and he confided in me. He said, "You know what? I'm barely making enough to even pay my bills." And I said, "Well, you should ask Brian for a raise, because all the other writers, a lot of the other writers were getting paid based on how the story performed, when this particular employee was just getting a flat rate for what he was writing." Well, Brian found out that I was going to give this guy a job, and he just like went off the freaking deep end. And that's when all hell broke loose. And he accused me of trying to steal one of his employees away and all this stuff. And he sent me this really nasty text message. He said, "Go fuck yourself. Pardon my French. Your website is going down today. You thought things were bad. I feel sorry for you." So Brian, at that point, tried to completely destroy my business. He called our ads manager and tried to bully this guy into dropping me as a client. And the next day, I see that Brian is running my content on Freedom Daily now, after he told me in writing that he wouldn't. And I confronted him about it in a text, and he actually admitted that he was running my stories as a way to get revenge. So all 728 of my stories, that was my content. As a freelance writer, I have ownership of my intellectual property. And I never signed anything giving Freedom Daily or Brian Kolfage ownership of my stuff. And he said, "Yeah, I changed my mind after you threw me under the bus." And so no telling how much he made it off of my stories after I left. But I mean, it was probably several $100,000 is what I'm guessing. So it was pretty crazy. Do you want me to keep going, or do you have some questions?
Well, no, that's my friends in the room, while you were talking, their eyes were popping out at some of the stuff you were revealing.
Oh, well, it gets better.